Oh, it's time to grab your glasses, family. It's time for us to get started. I'm so excited. Sitting up here, Kid Magic Rock. Shots out. Here we go. Drink your water. Come on, drink your water, but first, take your breath and drink some water. Take your breath and drink some water.
Take your breath.
Take your breath and drink some water. Take your breath. Drink.
Or should I say, breathe, then drink. All right, family, welcome in. Come on, grab a seat on the porch because we about to really wrap it up. Family, listen, to get the fullness out the episodes, what I started doing was I share my notes or my spoken notes in the Telegram so that you get the full essence of what the shows are about. Now, this show was sparked by a thought that has been haunting me for a while. For those that don't know, I grew up Baptist. I grew up a Baptist church child. My grandma would make sure that me and my sister and my cousins all would gather on Sunday at church, right? And at my grandma's house, at least, we always ate Sunday dinner after going to church, and we all had to say a Bible verse after somebody said the prayer. Now, this is the issue. Being a church town, one of the things that I used to have to always do was I had to kind of start stopping my questions. I was a very inquisitive young person. In fact, I got on a lot of adults' nerves as I found out as I started getting older because I asked questions. So I understand those type of young people. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. Let me say this. I didn't like football in the way that I should have liked football as much as I talk about football because I couldn't ask questions. I just had to get out and do it. So rather than having the discussion, I'd rather just hit a motherfucker or get hit. I don't want to do all this, you know what I'm saying, because they don't want to tell me the roots of stuff. Because I'm one of those that would think, well, a fullback, why is the fullback full? Why is the halfback half? When the halfback do most of the running. Why is the quarterback only a quarter? Why are they called boom boom? I'm just asking shit like that. And, you know, if you don't got people that's really equipped to deal with that, that becomes so troublesome. So when I would go to Sunday school, man, it's almost like sometimes I felt as if they wanted me to leave my brain at the damn door when I came in. So I would ask questions. So, of course, I was one that would go and I would read the Bible. I read the Bible several times when I was younger. So I'm talking about cover to cover type shit. I ain't talking about, you know, just even when the pastor was preaching, I would read what he was coming from. But I wanted to know the whole stories in context, right? And I found out the Bible is one of the most gangster books ever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, I could make a direct comparison between the David saga and the Godfather. You know, I'm famous for that shit. But anyway, the story that stuck in my craw for years was the story of Esau and Jacob. Now, on the recording that you can catch in the discussion over on Telegram, I'll go a little bit more in depth in that, right? But the story of Esau and Jacob has always bothered me. So what I'm gonna do is, because the proverb is in the script, the algorithm for the day is in the script. So I'm not gonna read those, but I am gonna read the haikus that came from my experience yesterday, kind of explaining them. All of them is on my phone because I was out and about and these haikus hit. So I was crossing the river, going to Juneteenth, and this one came to me. Says, beautiful river, flowing to I don't know where. Blessing all around. All right, now, the key piece on this one was that when people and things in nature are doing what they were designed to do, they bless everything around them. The problem comes when human beings interfere and try to make that thing do what they wanted to do. Like when they dam up a river. You know what I'm saying? Rivers aren't really designed to be dammed up necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Because I know beavers do it. We got the idea from beavers, right? But just because we dam it up, you know what I'm saying? The river is not able to live its full potential. And this is a society that thrives off of stopping people from living their full potential. We say we want our children to move towards their full potential, but we don't give them access to the resources or at least the answers that will help them be able to fulfill that. You know what I'm saying? Be somebody who has been on the outside of education looking in and then being on the inside. We're not equipping our kids actually to move towards being a truly valued member of society. We're training them to become cogs in a machine. They have to be able to fit into certain squares, and you know what I'm saying? And we get upset with them when they can't, which is kind of crazy to me. But anyway, here we go. Next haiku. Often we don't know from where our blessings may come, so watch what you say. All right, now that one is, you know what I'm saying, boom, thinking about, this is when I start moving into thinking about the idea of the blessing and the power of the blessing. And I want you to stay tuned because I'm going to go into that when I get into my script. I don't want to ruin it, right? But often we don't know from where our blessings may come, so watch what you say, right? Because we're going to get into talking about the power of the word. And then we're going to look at it, see, because a lot of times I got to come at y'all in the discussion from certain angles. The entryway is biblical, but it's going to open the gate for other things as far as how it fit into our culture. All right. Biblically, they called it patriarchal blessing, right? They were very careful about their words back in the day. Very careful about the words, because words are the doors to magic. Words can create realities, right? Those of you who have ever experienced the lack of having the words for something that is affecting you so that you can get other people to understand, you understand the magic power of words, because once you get the words that describe what you're experiencing and you can get other people to understand, you feel a certain relief on yourself, right? Now, in our society, we have downgraded the ability of individuals and their words. And this is what led me to the discussion today. Watch what flows from your mouth. Ancestors always present, blessing those that bless. Right now, we're moving deeper into the territory, and I'm reading these so that you can see where the ideas or where the discussion that we're about to get into is coming from. Lastly, but not least, your life is a gift that is undervalued by capitalism. They want you to look at your life. They want you to look at your words. They want you to look at all this stuff and use their metrics to measure what it is you have, right? Like when you looking on, like one of the things they do to kind of derail you is to get you caught up in the algorithm and then start showing you other people's lives and you start comparing your life to somebody else's life, and all of a sudden you lost, right? You start you start looking at where you are rather than where you came from, right? We got to understand, because I want y'all to start really looking at your lives. When you start measuring your life, don't be looking and comparing yourself to other people. Look at where and what you came from and what you came through to get to where you are right now. Appreciate that, right? But that goes into one of those principles, right? For us here, that is Ujamaa, or collective. Ujamaa is cooperative economics. I'm sorry. Brain slip, getting old. But anyway, but when we translate that into the M7, which is the principles I teach the young people before we get into the Nguza Saba, that principle is gratitude. In order for collective or cooperative economics to happen, there has to be a gratitude operating within the people. All right? There has to be a gratitude. We got to be grateful for what we have. We got to take time to explore what we have, right? So that we could value it, right? So we could know what will bring value to others so that we would know what to trade. So we could look at ourselves and we could see what is valuable about us that we could trade rather than trying to fit into somebody else's reality that has very little value for us. And it will pay us pennies for the most valuable thing we have. But anyway, that's Brother High Tim. This is why Brother High Tim need a script. We at 10 minutes, 56 seconds. I didn't even get into it. Listen, I didn't tell y'all to like. I didn't tell y'all to share. I didn't say like, share, subscribe. I didn't say comment. Like, if you feel anything I was saying, type or say into the discussion before I jump off into this. Lastly, but not least, I want you to remember that you are now standing in the congregation of the mighty, home of the stubborn minority, the place of your calling. This is Giambi Journey Media. I'm your host, Brother Tim. Of course, you know it's a Harlem 7 production all day, every day. We strive to blow up your paradigm. You're right. Got to blow up those old paradigms because it's once again, via negativa. We have to via negativa those old paradigms because they're holding you hostage. They're holding you in chains, right? Been holding me too. You know what I'm saying? But here we go. All right, let's go and let's get into the script. Mouth magic spits life. The wheel turns low and turns high. Stand firm. Claim your win. Am I haikuing? I'm haikuing. I know. All right. So the transition from the week of Ujima into the spirit of Imani. So right now we're in the week of Ujima, and we are exploring Ujima because we on that week. We're looking at Ujima through the lens of Imani, right? We live inside a culture that programs us for fear. Fear is the mother of what we in Giambi call the unbalanced seven, the root from which envy, greed, pride, sloth, lust, and anger sprout. So fear is one of those. So it's fear, envy, pride, sloth, lust, anger, right? And greed. So it's fear, envy, greed, pride, sloth, lust, anger. Those are the 7 unbalanced passions. To shatter this program, we have to activate our ancestral algorithm. An algorithm is a pattern you reflect on automatically when negativity hits. Today we vibrate under the unyielding frequency of Imani. Imani is faith for the uninitiated. The standard for Imani is absolute. I see the victory before the battle even begins. Again, I see the victory before the battle even begins. Come on now, say it with me. I see the victory, come on, before the battle even begins. You see the victory before the battle begins. Our North African family left us a timeless proverb to contextualize this walk. The world is a wheel. Today for you, tomorrow against you. Right? This from the Moroccans, right? In North Africa. We see this physical truth in history. On this very day in 1893, the world's first Ferris wheel debuted in Chicago. I think it was the World Fair, but I'm not sure. Was the World Fair, first World Fair? Well, it don't matter. The Ferris wheel, rising high above the sky and bringing riders back down. But the deeper spiritual weight of this proverb was felt on June 21st, 1964, in Neshoba County, Mississippi, when James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwimmer were brutally murdered by the Ku Klux Klan. In that dark, bloody night, it seemed the wheel of history was spinning violently against us. The darkness of racial terror felt absolute. Yet, those warriors walked in Mississippi with Imani. They didn't have the luxury of waiting for the political climate to be comfortable. They had to see the victory of our liberation before the battle was ever won. and because they stood firm, the low point of that will sparked an unyielding national fire that directly broke the back of the legal apartheid here in America. The wheel turned. Many of us are looking at our current circumstances, our health, our financial accounts, our community struggles, and we believe the low point of the wheel is our permanent home. We let the temporary optics of the battle make us forget who we are. We get caught up in the friction of the rotation. But Imani is the ultimate override. Imani is not passive wishing, it's active, offensive certainty. It is the spiritual technology that allows you to stand at the absolute bottom of the wheel and look up, knowing with mathematical certainty that you will rise. You do not wait for the storm to clear to believe in the sun. You see the harvest while you are still clearing the rocks from the dry soil. When you practice the via negativa, or purging the doubt, deleting the virus of despair, and stripping away the illusions of the temporary defeats, you tap into a deep code written in your very DNA. Your ancestors did not survive the Middle Passage, the plantations, and Jim Crow South, and the North, let's be honest, because they had hope. They survived because they had Imani. They saw us sitting here today, free, sovereign, and building long before the shackles ever fair. Many grow up in traditions where questioning is discouraged. Yet true growth requires us to challenge the scripts we've been handed. Consider the ancient story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob deceived his father to steal his older brother's blessing. Now I want y'all to think about that. We have a whole culture, this whole biblical culture, family, right, that talk about righteousness. And the damn patriarch was a goddamn thief. But hold on, I'm gonna stop. I know some of y'all gonna be sensitive about that. I know anime's telling me to pull up. Now, my whole life I have been confused of how could this dude steal and violate, right? Because those of you that's not familiar with the story, I can't remember his father's name. Maybe it was Isaac. And Isaac favored Esau. He liked Esau. He liked Esau's style. He liked how even Esau smelled, right? He was blind. Esau would bring him wild game because he liked the taste of wild game. Jacob, on the other hand, was a mama's boy, right? Really, ain't nothing wrong with being a mama's boy. Don't get me wrong. But the father, in this tradition, the blessing comes through the father. So the mother schemed with Jacob to get Jacob to be able to steal his father's blessing from his older brother. All right? And I know some of y'all's like me. Well, Brother Hatim, he couldn't just take it back. Let me get to it, right? Because you got to acknowledge the culture and understand the myth. All right. Because I didn't understand it till recently. Many grew up in a tradition where questioning is discouraged. I'm reading over again. Yet true growth requires us to challenge the scripts we've been handed. Consider the ancient story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob deceived his father to steal his older brother's blessing. When Esau discovered the trickery, he wept and begged his father to reverse it. But the blessing could not be taken back. Why? Because our ancestors did not view words as empty air. They understood the power of Nomo, as we called it in West Africa. They called it in Mali, right? The Dogon people, the Nomo, the power of the spoken word. Once a word is spoken, it becomes a living entity imbued with Ashe, spiritual power. It manifests reality. So once the father directed the blessing on to Jacob, he could not take it back because he spit this thing. They took their words seriously, and we have to start taking our words very seriously as well, right? They took their words very seriously. So now many of you are screaming Bible, right? But how many of y'all talking biblical ways? Now, hold on. You know, and I ain't just talking to you. We ain't just talking to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading this out. Shots fired. Shit. Shots fired. Shots fired. Hold on. Today, people toss around words carelessly, claiming sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That is a lie to our culture. That is a lie from a foreign culture. That is a lie. Because anybody who has ever been insulted or cursed out or however you want to by somebody that you respect, that shit is more painful than I'm gonna let y'all go and wrestle with that. We call it mouth magic. Can inflict the deepest wounds, yet we treat speech as valueless. Spiritual leaders and elders possess a responsibility to intentionally lay hands on the youth, isolating them from the noise of the world, calling them by their true names, and whispering personal and communal blessings into their lives. Our young people are starving for validation from elders who actually manifest, rather than elders who hold back their power or speak words of ill repute. See, we don't see, when the last time, and I want some of y'all to think about, when the last time you put a blessing on somebody? You hear me stirring, right? Y'all hear me stirring, right? When the last time you put a blessing on somebody? Right? Somebody did something nice for you. And you ain't necessarily give them a blessing, but you actually spoke a blessing on them. When the last time you spoke a blessing on somebody in your community and somebody in your family? I did, because I want you to understand, part of the reason we don't do that is because culturally we have been beat down. We don't think that we are able to do that. But when it comes to us doing dark magic, as they would call it, or black magic, as they would call it, we don't mind putting a curse on somebody. We'll curse somebody out, right? Matter of fact, some of us feel more justified in checking somebody than we do about affirming somebody. In fact, in many of our cultures, it is, in many of our lives, it has been elevated to be somebody that will be that's fearless about checking people. But we don't have the master blessers in our tribe, in our community, in our families, in our lives. No, we got people that are real good at speaking words of ill repute. Is that it? Ill repute, right? Where are those that speaking blessings on especially on these young people? When a feature of nature operates exactly as it was designed, you heard that in the haiku, it naturally distributes blessings to everything around it. The same applies to you. When you do what you were designed to do, you bless all around you. The tragedy of the Western mindset is the obsession with commodifying everything, including human life and servitude. Capitalism breaks your existence, commodifying everything, including human life and servitude. Capitalism breaks your existence down into fractions of value and pays you pennies, and too many are content with the pennies. When we dam up a river for shortcuts, we rob the world of our fullness. We must return to the mindset that honors nature and community over raw exploitation. Because the answers are always present, we must remain hyper vigilant about what leaves our lips. Young people must learn to be careful about what they say and who they say it to. You never know who is truly with you or against you, or where your breakthrough will come from. People rarely send curses or negative energy, but rarely do they concisely project blessings into the universe. We avoid doing it because we have been conditioned to believe we are powerless. Your life is an undervalued gift. Lift your chin, warriors. The battle you are facing today is already won. It's time to step out of the trap of negativity. Claim your connection to the universe and pass that blueprint of power down to the next generation. The wheel is turning and the victory is already yours. As Mama Margarita often say, we shall win. And with that, I'm gonna say Ashe. I'm done with the script, but I want to go back because the major reason I was researching this was because I'm like, Esau was what would be called a manly man. And when he came in and he saw that his father was dying and his father had given away his blessing, he came in the tent and let out a scream, a cry of deep, deep sorrow. And I said, damn, what would make a man break down like that? Right? And I said, well, damn, where is this blessing tradition for us? Right? Because once again, we got words like no more. Right? Not just in the Dogon language. We have different cultures that look at the power of words, even the power of naming, like with the day names and the Khan people. Then you look at the Khan people, you find out that they have a ritual where they pass on blessings, where the elders during the rites of passage pass on blessings to the next generation. Then we go to the Yoruba and we go to the Igbo. We got the same thing, whether it's with water, whether it's with clay, whether it's with the stick of an elder touching a young person, they're passing on the blessing. The only thing we have to combat with this one is they call it a patriarchal blessing. We never had that shit, right? Patriarchal, come on now. A lot of our cultures were balanced or matriarchal, right? The wealth and all that stuff is passed through the mother's line. So I'm saying all that to say this. What sparked me to write this, because I even got an article for this, what sparked me to even start researching this was, damn, what could make this man cry like this? And I ain't read this in years, but I always remembered, I said, damn, he walked in the room and basically fell down. Father, don't you have anything left to give me? The dad ain't pass out no money. The dad ain't even dead yet. The dad was passing on a spiritual legacy. He was passing on a covenant that was given to him by what he believed in and was passing it on to the next generation. And that older son went out to hunt the game to get his father and prepare his father the food that his father liked. But by the time he got back, somebody had stole that from him. They ain't steal the money. Because I want you to think about this. Because right after this, if you read it, Esau got everything. Because Jacob had to run for his life because Esau was going to kill him. Now, the point I'm bringing up is this. We, in our rites of passage, in our discussions, and last story. The major reason I went back to Tawi, because I was out of Tawi for a very long time. Part of the reason I went back to Tawi because as I started aging and started moving through Simba and started moving with Giami in the way that I'm moving, I said, when we bring young people through, they need to go before elders. They need to go before elders. And now I got a reason why I want them to go before the elders, because we need to be passing blessings to these young people. We need to start letting them and laying hands on them and letting them know that in our culture, we pass things on verbally. I'm going to give you something that no amount of mistakes that you can make can take away. I'm going to speak life into you. And we don't do that. As a whole and as a ritual, I don't think we really do that. But that's, I could be wrong. But hey, this is Brother Atim. I want to thank you for taking the time and listening in. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. You already know how it goes down here. I thank every last one of you. Make sure you join the Telegram group because I'm posting up stuff in there and I'm setting it up so that we can start having discussions on the Telegram group because I want to meet some of the people that are listening. Because what's crazy is when I went to Juneteenth, yesterday, I had people like, man, I be checking out your show. But a lot of that stuff don't show up in my algorithm. Not my algorithm, but in my numbers. Y'all got to understand that, right? You might stop in for a second and you might listen, boom, boom, boom. But I need you to like. I need you to share. I need you to comment, right? Or even subscribe. right? So that we can make sure it's getting distributed, and as the algorithms start picking it up, you might not listen to it, but somebody in your network might be like, oh, well, damn, he likes it. Let me go see what, and they might get something out that they need. This brother Tim, I'm up and I'm out. Thank you very much. And you know what that means.
You are now listening to Giami Journey Radio. This is a Heart of a Symbol production. Where we strive to blow up your old paradigms.